the greatest to ever do it because I do it more than anybody's ever done it. And that's just a secret to life and everything. That's the secret to you getting back in shape. See, let me tell you something. It's tough. I'm going through right now. Mr. Apex has been with me for like 2 weeks now. I feel the relationship weight gaining. And she's looking over me with like little mean eyes and stuff. But listen, let me tell you something, brother. It happens to the best of us. But the secret is catching yourself before it gets too bad. See, it's okay when you add on the 5 to the 10 and you start to see it and you start to get the little change and you're like, okay, I got to get back. Let me get back to peak me. But when you start to get to 20, 30, 40, 50, and you look on the scale, you're like, holy fuck, I can't wear anything. I'm wearing sweatpants all day. My shoes don't fit. Nothing wears right. I'm snoring. I can't stop eating. That's when you're in deep shit. That's when it's really bad. But you can stop yourself from getting there with 3 simple steps. Just like everything in life, if you want to like get yourself momentum, you want to start like doing things where you go in a better way, a better function, and get the best out of life, you got to build momentum. Momentum is a real thing. Building the habit. The habit will carry you through to the bigger long-term gains. Small steps equal large jumps in life. So say, for example, you're having trouble. It's hard for you to get up to work out, to do anything, just to train. You know what you do? Make the task so simple, so easy that even like you on your laziest day can do it. So say if I want to go run, like say I got to get 10,000 steps in. My goal every day is to get 2,000 steps in. But sometimes I haven't been getting it because Ms. Apex is getting me, work is getting me. I'm getting tied down, bogged down. So what I do is I say, you know what? Let me get out of bed, put my shoes on, and just take a step outside. One step outside. I can go right outside and turn back around and come back into the door. And the reason I say that to myself is because just by making the barrier entry so much easier to get through, you'll eventually be successful. Like for example, like if I want to start reading, I don't say I need to read 20 pages a day. I say, you know what? Let me open the book. If I can just open the book and read the first word, I have won the day. And most of you guys be like, dude, that's fucking pathetic. Well, guess what? It's better than you doing nothing. Because that's what you've been doing. That's why you're 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier than what you should be, because you've been doing nothing. So at least doing a minuscule of something is better than doing absolutely nothing. And that's really like the great like trick in life. Is just doing something. Doing a little bit every day to get to the next goal, to get to the next step in life. And what really most people suffer with, this is why I'm starting to realize where I suffer when it comes to like just training, working out, is that I train. I'll go like a month, 2 months in advance. 1 to 2 months straight, dedicated, going hard, doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, eating right, running right, lifting right. And what happens is I'll hit such a peak where I feel so good and I look so good and like my numbers are good, everything's just going right. I'll kind of like relapse. And not in a bad way, but it's like in a way like, man, let me take a breather, man. I've been working hard. Let me take a breather. And that breather turns into 1 day. And that turns into 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Next thing you know, you look at 2 weeks, like, goddamn, I haven't done shit in 2 weeks. And see, that's what gets people caught up in like, just in all aspects of life, is that once we start doing good for ourselves, when we start building a momentum, we start building a habit, we start doing well, we start seeing the results come in, that's usually when we take our foot off the gas. And it's just human nature. You can't help it. Like, you have to have somebody else keeping you accountable. That's why coaches and groups are so good. Because a lot of times, like, when you train yourself and discipline yourself to get to a certain point where you're excelling, when you have no competition, when it's you against you, unless you're one of those sociopathic type of guys like a Kobe Bryant or David Goggins or one of those guys, for the most part, you're going to kind of fall back to the average. Because now that you're so high above, you can kind of afford to fall back down and do nothing, because at the end of the day, it kind of averages out. And that's what the great law of average usually does to people. It diminishes you. See, your natural state is to do nothing. The natural state of all mass and energy is to stay in the least excited state. So you want to stay as close to least excited as possible. And so like atoms and stuff, when they're vibrating, whatever, if they don't add a new electron to get to a next energy level or state, what happens is they'll lose electrons to other energy states that are more attractive or need more energy. So that's why when you start living around people who are less energetic, they take from you. What you laughing at? She's over here laughing about this. Come spin this gospel. But when you're around people who are not as energetic or as high achieving as you are, what they will tend to do is take your energy from you because you're more high energetic. This is why it's very important about who you surround yourself with, because who you surround yourself with, you'll either take energy from them and you'll raise up your level and you raise the same vibration they're going, or you'll drop down the level of vibration, you'll get worse. And so that's what happens to a lot of us, is that when we start to vibrate higher and we start to shake loose to the group of people who are usually around, when we find ourselves into a new stratosphere or a new group of people, sometimes it's like, damn, dude, that's a lot of work because I got to be around these high level achieving people all day. Like if you're dealing with somebody, like say you do sales and you're making maybe $100,000 doing 100 calls a day, but then you kind of hit a point where it's like, okay, this is the most amount I'm going to make if I do 100 calls a day. But then you see another group that's doing 200 calls a day, and they're making almost 2 or 3 times the amount that you're making. So you're like, damn, I kind of want to make 2 or 3 times the amount of money I'm making. So maybe if I start doing $200 to 300 calls a day, I might rise to that same level. But when you get up to that level, you start doing that, it's way easier to fall back down to the average because you're like, man, I don't want to do this every day. Like I like the results, but man, I'm looking at the people down here, and they're still just as happy as I was back when I was doing 200, 300 calls a day. And so that's usually what happens to us as people, is that we raise our level up, and then we kind of get tired because if we don't find a purpose, you don't have a reason why you keep raising level, you kind of just like taper off. You're like, what am I still doing this for? And like I said, there's a small group of people who are the sociopathic people of the world who will just keep rising because they don't know any better. Like they're wired in a fucked up way where they just can't stop. They're unbelievably greedy. But the grand majority of us who just want to be like happy, do something that's fulfilling, have a good life, be able to enjoy freedom and relaxation. For the grand majority of us like that, listen, man, just find a habit, find a routine, make the barrier to entry so easy that you're just going to automatically do it, and just enjoy your life. And that's how you lose the weight. Don't try to do it all in one game. You're not going to get it all in one game. Don't try to run 10 miles if you haven't run a mile in 10 years. But anyway, appreciate you guys for listening. Hopefully that helps out. And once again, the top 3 ways to get yourself back in shape if you are already falling apart and you feel the downfall. 1, write it out. Put that shit on the board so you can see it every day. I am fat because I refuse to do so forth and so forth. I am stupid because I refuse to do so forth and so forth. When you see it every day and you know that you're not doing it, that's how you know, okay, this is why I get the results I get. 2, start small. Just build momentum. If you want to go run, just put my shoes on and take 1 step outside. And I promise you, that 1 step, you're going to feel so stupid that, you know what, let me just go do 100. Oh, this 100 wasn't, let me do 1,000. Let me do 10,000. By the time you get back, you realize, oh, it wasn't that bad to begin with. And 3, keep perspective. Listen, if you ain't training for the marathon, if you're not training for the Olympics, if you're not training to be a world champion, keep perspective, man. Like, do what you can, and don't try to exceed to this next level unless you really have a reason why you're trying to do it. Like, because what always going to happen is it's going to make the fall off even worse. Because what's going to happen is you're always going to fall back to whatever your average is. So if you're doing 200 calls and you normally do 100, what you're going to do is go down to 0. So just stay at 100. Stay at what your pace. Stay at your nice pace and your nice tone, your mood, your wave, and just ride your wave and just enjoy life. Pick your spots. Appreciate you guys for listening.